Katanat Divisional Forest Officer Giant Hills Wildlife Division Jowai hak arpoetrik risau, kelapun kutno ia katayo lekmen Wildlife Week hayung walit pepale kablarakhe halor kapang Wildlife Conservation Through Coexistence. Ha kani kasngi ladon lang ukongsan SM Sahay, IFS Principal Chief Conservator of Forest Wildlife Shillong, kakong DV do ADC West Giant Hills District, UPK Agrahari IFS Chief Conservator of Forest Wildlife Shillong, UPK IFS Assistant Conservator of Forest Giant Hills Territorial Division Jowai na lor kiwe. Kongsan USM Sahay IFS Principal Chief Conservator of Forest Wildlife ha kajingkran ulapentep bakajala Meghalaya kadan ha kakerdan kabaar hakari ha kajingdon ki Community Reserve Forest bat syan kan sa tamru ya kanagalan bat kan salong kabaningkong hapo kari ha kajingbun jong ki Community Reserve Forest. Ban yada ya kimrat kimereng bat kimrat klau USM Sahay uloong kamde banyada tang badan kajingkhang na jingbersitom Henry kadai ban mi na kajing it ya kimrat bat kamaryang bat ban sngotu ru ba kajing don jongi kasyong kajing don jong baro kimrat klau bat kimarpo kendo ula kenturu ya baro ban pendap ya kakamram da ka ba persyang ban sumar sukher bat pene pensa ya kimrat kimreng na marada kajing tau ba im kidan ha kajing e kajing long briuru kan don ha kajing e ha kani kasngi katanat kelasam khusnam shiki khna na school ba pher ba job hai ki jinga ko painting essay but extempore speech nalor kata lapan ko burom ru da ka khusnam wildlife samaritan award shaki rioshimet bat kenhun ki ba plat em ki marat klau kunthop khat prangut ki rioshimet saw ki kenhun ki bana West Giant Hills District bat henriu ngut na East Giant Hills District. Hashwa kani kakong en lalu IFS Divisional Forest Officer Giant Hills Wildlife Division Jowai ha kajingkran matpang kalapentip bahapo rilum Giantia ladon arpratli ki klau ki batip kum ki Community Reserve Forest ki wede ki bla ajingkran kilong kakong Marjuna Suchang Forest Pleader West Giantia but East Giant Hills District ha kajingalang kabapenya da ubi Japang MFS Assistant Conservator of Forest Social Forestry Division Giant Hills Jowai. Ya kajingalang lapan kut daki kintian kublay na USLA Range Forest Officer Jowai but umtiang Wildlife Rangers.
It's there in their tradition, which is very good if we see the cause for that. Under Wildlife Protection Act, through the instruments of community reserves, we have seen Meghalaya has been in the forefront and we have been second in the country as far as the numbers of community reserves is concerned, and soon we will be surpassing Nagaland and we will be number one in the country in terms of number of community reserves notified under the Wildlife Protection Act here in the state. So that is very heartening to see, because that basically indicates the amount of collaboration, amount of so to say joint efforts which department and the community is putting forth for the cause of biodiversity and wildlife conservation. Long back, somewhere around 1952, if I remember it correctly, initially it was Wildlife Day, but later on it was decided to celebrate as Wildlife Week. That was much before actually an enactment called the Wildlife Protection Act came into being in 1972. Our forest leader just now, she gave a brief of various important provisions of the Wildlife Protection Act, what is prohibited, what is regulated under the Act. So we must have that basic understanding. It is very important to know various, at least basics of the various provisions of that Act. But our urge, I would say, to protect biodiversity and wildlife should not come because of the there are certain provisions in the Act, and there is an Act which provides for certain penalties and punishments, etc. But that should come out of our love for the wildlife and nature, and out of our understanding that our own existence is depends on the existence of all the wildlife and natural resources around us. In fact, the theme of this year's Wildlife Week is also that the conservation. It is conservation through coexistence. It's very heartening to see various awards and certificates going to wildlife Samaritans we have just seen. So that kind of commitment is very important. It should come from within, basically. To keep in mind that it is our duty to put all our efforts towards biodiversity and wildlife conservation, because of the simple fact that if we must understand that if biodiversity has a problem, humanity has a problem. So it's serving our own cause. So with these words, I thank again all the organizers for inviting us here. Thank you so much. God bless you all.